The most unknown serial killers you've never heard of. Everyone knows the big names: Dahmer, Bundy, Gacy. They become pop culture boogeymen. Their faces are printed on documentaries, Netflix thumbnails, and Halloween masks. But what about the ones who never got the spotlight? The ones whose crimes were just as brutal, maybe worse, but who slipped through the cracks of history. You see, fame, even in evil, requires a story. Most monsters don't get one. Some kill in silence. Some disappear before the world even realizes what they were, and others, they're so methodical, so detached, that even the FBI couldn't find their names, only the bodies they left behind. Tonight, we're going hunting for ghosts in plain sight, the murderers that history forgot, the ones whose names barely whispered through the archives before vanishing again, because evil doesn't always scream, sometimes it just murmurs.
Midnight Murmurs.
Israel Keyes, the Phantom of Preparation. Israel Keyes wasn't your average killer. He didn't stalk victims on impulse. He didn't lose control in a fit of rage. He planned, he studied, he executed. He's often called the most organized serial killer in modern history, and not without reason. While most killers work within a comfort zone, Keyes built an entire network of death. Across the United States, he buried what he called kill kits. Plastic buckets filled with duct tape, rope, guns, ammunition, even bottles of Drano to destroy DNA. He'd hide them years in advance, sometimes in one state, then fly back years later, dig them up, and use them for a single, random killing. No pattern, no connection. The perfect predator for a modern age. He confessed to multiple murders, but the true number? Nobody knows. He'd fly into a city, rent a car, drive hundreds of miles, find a victim by chance, and vanish. Then he'd return home to Alaska, where he lived a completely normal life. He had a daughter, he ran a construction business, his neighbors called him polite. His co-workers said he was quiet, but behind that calm, he was chaos in human form. In 2012, after abducting a woman named Samantha Koenig from a coffee stand in Anchorage, Keyes finally made a mistake. Surveillance footage and bank withdrawals traced his movements, leading the FBI to Texas, and where he was arrested during a traffic stop. When agents sat across from him, he smiled and said, "You've barely scratched the surface." He refused to give them the names of his victims. Instead, he toyed with them, dropping fragments of stories, half-truths, maps that led nowhere. Then, before they could learn more, Israel Keyes took his own life in his jail cell, leaving behind unanswered questions and a chilling legacy of meticulous evil. He wasn't a monster of passion, he was a monster of patience.
Midnight Murmurs.
Pedro Rodrigues Filho, Brazil's killer of killers. Pedro Rodrigues Filho, known across Brazil as Pedrinho Matador or Little Peter the Killer, but don't let the nickname fool you. There was nothing little about his body count. Born in 1954, Pedro's first experience with violence started before he could even walk. His father beat his mother so badly while she was pregnant, doctors believed it left permanent damage to Pedro's brain. You could say he was born into brutality and grew up fluent in it. By the time he was 14, he'd already committed his first murder, the town's deputy mayor. Why? Because the man fired his father from a job at a school for stealing food. Pedro didn't see it as justice. He saw it as balance. From there, he spiraled into a lifelong obsession with punishment. He targeted thieves, drug dealers, gangsters, and later, while in prison, other murderers. He said they didn't deserve to live. Imagine that, a killer deciding who else deserved death. He eventually claimed to have killed over 70 people, many of them fellow inmates. But here's where it gets stranger. In Brazil, the maximum prison sentence, no matter the crime, is just 30 years. So after decades behind bars, Pedro walked free. And what did he do next? He started a YouTube channel. Yeah, he became a content creator, talking about crime, morality, regret, telling young people not to make the same choices he did. Violence isn't power, he'd say. It's weakness wearing a mask. But real life has a cruel sense of irony. In 2023, at age 68, Pedro Rodrigues Filho was gunned down outside his home, murdered by the same cycle he once fed. The killer of killers was finally killed himself, and for the first time in his life, there was no one left for him to judge.
Midnight Murmurs.
The Servant Girl Annihilator, America's forgotten boogeyman. Before Jack the Ripper ever haunted London's foggy alleys, America had its own phantom, a shadow that crept through the sleeping streets of Austin, Texas, long before the city had its Keep Austin Weird slogan. Between 1884 and 1885, someone or something began a year-long killing spree that still defies explanation. 8 victims, most of them African-American servant women, attacked while they slept, dragged from their beds, and brutally murdered with an axe. Newspapers called him the Servant Girl Annihilator, which, let's be honest, sounds less like a murderer and more like a rejected name for a metal band, but in 1880s Texas, it was pure terror. He'd slip into homes undetected, strike without warning, and vanish before anyone could react. No fingerprints, no witnesses, no pattern, just silence and screams that came too late. What's even stranger is how organized it all was. This wasn't some drunken drifter. This was a hunter. He moved fast, precise, and confident, like he'd done it before, maybe somewhere else. And then, just as suddenly as he appeared, he was gone. The killings stopped in 1885. A year later, across the ocean in London, a new killer emerged. One who favored knives over axes, but shared the same taste for blood and mystery. Jack the Ripper. Some historians believe it's not coincidence. They think the Servant Girl Annihilator was the Ripper, a killer who upgraded his location, but not his habits. It's impossible to prove. The timelines match, but the evidence is smoke. Still, imagine this. The world's most infamous killer might have gotten his start right here, in Texas. Every legend has an origin story. This one started with a whisper and ended with an axe.
Midnight Murmurs.
Charles Albright, the eyeball killer, Dallas, Texas, early 1990s. Police find a woman's body in an alley, murdered but with something disturbingly precise about the crime scene. No sign of struggle, no blood splatter out of place. And when investigators look closer, they realize what's missing. Not her jewelry, not her purse, her eyes. Over the next few months, 2 more victims turned up. Same pattern, same surgical precision, same missing eyes. The press called him the eyeball killer. And for once, that nickname wasn't an exaggeration. The man responsible, Charles Albright, a respected church-going Dallas local with a near-genius IQ. On paper, he was the perfect neighbor. Former high school football star, college-educated, friendly smile. But behind that smile was an obsession. He'd been fascinated by eyes since childhood. Adopted at birth, raised by strict parents, young Charles spent hours dissecting animals for taxidermy, but his mother wouldn't let him buy real glass eyes for his stuffed creations. So he stole them, and when he got caught, he just learned to steal smarter. Fast forward a few decades, Albright becomes a teacher, a family man, and a fraud artist, forging checks, fake diplomas, fake degrees. He was the kind of guy who could talk his way through any door, and maybe out of any suspicion. But his dark hobby never left him. Police eventually tied Albright to 3 murders, all sex workers from the Dallas area. Each had been shot, but more chillingly, their eyes were removed with surgical precision. No damage to the eyelids, no jagged cuts, just gone. When they searched his home, investigators found a collection of surgical tools, books on anatomy, and dozens of newspaper clippings about the case. But the one thing they never found, the eyes. Maybe he kept them, maybe he studied them, or maybe he just wanted to make his collection complete. Charles Albright was convicted in 1991, sentenced to life in prison. He died behind bars in 2020, still denying everything. Some killers crave blood, others crave attention, but Albright, he just wanted to see the world a little differently.
Midnight Murmurs.
Anatoly Onoprienko, the Terminator of Ukraine. Anatoly Onoprienko. If monsters had blueprints, this one would look like a man built entirely out of absence. No empathy, no guilt, no fear. They called him the Terminator, and not because of the movies, because he left nothing standing. Between 1989 and 1996, he murdered at least 52 people, entire families, parents, children, even infants, executed in their homes, often for no reason at all. No ransom, no robbery, just annihilation. He'd moved from village to village in rural Ukraine, breaking into random houses under the cover of night. He shot everyone inside, looted a few small things, then set the homes on fire, wiping away every trace of his presence. It wasn't madness, it was method. When police finally caught him in 1996, it wasn't some grand sting operation or clever profiling. It was luck. A random vehicle inspection turned up one of his guns. That's all it took to unravel the horror. During his confession, Onoprienko barely blinked. He spoke about his victims like they were numbers. He said the killings were directed by higher powers. He described voices guiding him, invisible forces demanding blood. But there was nothing supernatural about Anatoly Onoprienko, just a man so detached from humanity he could extinguish it without hesitation. During his confession, Onoprienko barely blinked. He spoke about his victims like they were numbers. He said the killings were directed by higher powers. He described voices guiding him, invisible forces demanding blood. But there was nothing supernatural about Anatoly Onoprienko, just a man so detached from humanity he could extinguish it without hesitation. Onoprienko wasn't a storm, he was a vacuum, and where he walked, even memory seemed afraid to follow.
Midnight Murmurs.
The Gilgo Beach Killer, Long Island, New York, a quiet stretch of sand called Gilgo Beach, peaceful, until the tide started washing up secrets. It began in 2010, a missing woman, a search, and a discovery that would shake the country. Police found human remains buried along the dunes, not one body, but 4. All women, all connected to escort ads posted online. Over the next few months, they uncovered more. The final count stood at 11 sets of remains, and yet no one could say for sure if it was one killer or several. The pattern was methodical, but messy. Victims wrapped in burlap, some dismembered, some scattered across miles of coastline, like someone trying to cover their tracks, or taunting anyone who tried to follow them. For over a decade, the case went cold. The killer, whoever they were, vanished back into the ordinary world. No new victims, no leads, no justice. Then, in 2023, after 13 long years, police arrested Rex Heuermann, a married architect from Massapequa Park. He lived less than 30 minutes from the crime scene. The guy who designed homes for a living was accused of building graves instead. He fit the mold of an urban ghost. Normal job, normal house, normal life. But inside that house, police found a cache of weapons, burner phones, and disturbing digital evidence linking him to the killings. It seemed like the case was solved, except it wasn't. Investigators still believe more than one killer may have been active in that same area, the same woods, the same timeline, a cluster of evil hiding in plain sight. It's a chilling reminder that even in the age of surveillance, GPS, and social media, you can still disappear, and monsters can still blend in. Sometimes the scariest part of the story is realizing it's still being written.
Midnight Murmurs.
That's the end of tonight's story. If you made it this far, thank you. This was my first ever YouTube video, and honestly, it means a lot that you stuck around through the darkness. I'm just getting started with Midnight Murmurs, and I'd love your help growing this channel. So if you enjoyed the storytelling, hit subscribe and join me on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Every click helps this channel come alive. Until next time, keep your lights low and listen for the murmurs.
I'm just trying to make it back to the flat. Whole world mad, but I still stay tapped. Talk about fame, they don't know about facts. 10 toes down, no cap, no act. Went from the block to the map. Still got pain, I ain't post on Snap. If I ever fall off, man, I bounce right back. Pray I never go broke, that's facts.